What's up, YouTube? How are you feeling today? Hope everyone is feeling great. My name is Bainey. I'm an artist. I love to share my process and document my journey, share art inspiration videos and tutorials, especially when it comes to 3D art. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back to the channel. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you will do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Today, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, I thought I would make another quick video to address a recurring question that I am seeming to get on my last plaster mix process video. And what is the question, you might ask? It is, what ratio do I use? What are the measurements for my mixture? And I know I mentioned this in the last video, but I do not use measurements when it comes to my plaster mixture. It has never been a factor for me. I personally prefer the versatility of different types of mixtures to make one cohesive sculpture. And so with that said, I do understand that people out there might find it really useful to have sort of a guideline. And so I thought I'd make a quick video with ratios and measurements so you can get an idea of how you would like to structure your plaster mixture. And we can talk a little bit more about kind of why I necessarily don't think that having a ratio is something that you should be completely dialed into. I get that this is something that might be helpful for you while you're just starting out, and I hope that you use it more as a guide as opposed to something that you feel like you have to replicate over and over again. Anyway, with all of that said, let's get into the actual mixing of the mixture. Okay, so starting off with a measuring spoon that's 1/4 of a cup. Next, I am filling up my mixing bowl with 1 cup of water. Keep in mind that I am actually using gypsum for this video because I am out of plaster, even though it is in a plaster container. But I do not mix differently for gypsum or plaster, so this works well for this purpose. I add 1 cup of gypsum to the water, giving us a 1:1 plaster water ratio, and I will continue to say plaster for the rest of this video just to avoid confusion and because both materials are closely related. Once my water and plaster are thoroughly combined, it is now time to add some Elmer's glue to the mix. For the measurement, 1/4 of a cup of glue is actually sufficient for this mixture. Also, if you haven't checked out my original plaster mix video, you should definitely check that out as it gives you more context for this video, and I also share a lot more tips and tricks in that video. Once the plaster and glue are thoroughly combined, it is now time to add some white acrylic paints to the mixture. I am also using 1/4 of a cup for the paint, so pretty much the same measurement for my glue. As I've mentioned, I do not subscribe or believe in an ultimate plaster ratio recipe for my work. The only time I really would
highlight the importance of a ratio is if you're using pre-mixed sparkling paste or joint compound, and in that case I would suggest that you use a higher plaster ratio because those materials shrink a lot and cause your work to crack. And so I would suggest, maybe if you're doing that, maybe 3 to 1 plaster to joint compound ratio. Anyway, this is the result. You get a really smooth, creamy texture paste. If you want more of a thicker consistency like I had in the initial video, I would mix 2 ratios of plaster to 1 ratio of water, and you can keep everything else the same, or do half a cup of paint.
So yeah, that is pretty much the ratio, if you to think about it, that I use on average. 1 to 1 water and plaster, and then 1/4 acrylic paint and glue. But understand that I never sit down to actually measure materials prior to mixing. I go based on just eyeballing what I have on hand and kind of what I am looking to get from the mixture. So I mentioned this in my last video. Sometimes I want a thicker mixture depending on what stage of the artwork I am in or I'm working on. Or sometimes I might want a really watery mix. And so I never really want you to use this ratio as a set guide that you cannot tweak. I personally find the versatility of different types of mixtures depending on the stage and phase of the sculpture I'm working on. I really enjoy that versatility and I find it really helpful. I think you stand to benefit a lot from experimenting because then you know what mixtures and what consistencies and what products give you the best feel, the best work. Somebody else might work great with a thicker mixture, and somebody else might work better with a lighter mixture with something that's runny. And so, again, the whole point is I hope that the numbers in terms of the math and a reference point is a guide, but do not think it's an end all be all. Another question that I've been getting is, people experiencing cracks when it comes to their mixture. And for me, the ratio doesn't necessarily come into play when it comes to cracks. My experience has been that adding joint compound or spackling paste to my mixture is really what causes those cracks, because joint compound or spackling paste shrinks a lot when it's drying, and that causes cracks. Also, working in thinner layers would help out that process a lot, but I just want to emphasize that when it comes to my mixtures, when it comes to this 3 solid ingredients that I prefer to use, either the plaster, the gypsum, and then acrylic paint and glue, I do not experience cracks. And that is because for me, I have eliminated having joint compound or spackling paste in my mixture, and since I did that, I haven't really had cracks. I'm always happy to share the more that I know with you guys. To be a really good sculptor, or to be able to make the best art that you can make, you have to personalize the process. You have to experiment a lot, because you might find that doing the mixture a different way is something that you actually prefer working with more so than what I prefer working with, or that you can work better with a little bit of something in your mixture, or just as I have found that different consistencies I value at different stage points of the process. And so, like I said, just keep that in mind. But I hope that you found this video valuable. I hope that the measurements are actually helpful for you. And I'll see you all in my next video.